Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com New Jersey Invitational, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside newly minted Nexus's Brennan Decandio. How you doing?
Good so far, so good, yeah.
Pretty good. This is the first event for your team here. You're
Correct.
the captain.
Yes.
And you've been streaming a lot with this Green-White Angels deck. You've put up some pretty absurd results from your posts and from watching. Talk about how you came to this deck, and then we'll go over the card-by-card selections.
Sure. Well, it started in a Facebook group with a lot of the people who I'm teaming with, mentioning things for regionals. And one of the things we posted about was the Green-White Tokens deck. And Emma Handy actually posted a list with more angels in it to kind of go over the top of it. It had a few differences. It was playing Visionaries over some of the other things, but I really liked the idea because I felt like Green-White had just won the Open in the hands of OSIP.
Yep.
And it still was doing really powerful things for the format, but I feel like it needs to go a little bit harder against the Emrakul decks because they can definitely overpower you. You guys are both playing the mid-range strategies. So streamed with us a bunch the past week and have ironed out, I would say, about 12, 13 leagues of playing over hundreds of hours. I don't know how long it is testing, but it's been pretty well.
Right, so we have all the cards you expect from like the Green-White Token shell, Oath of Nissa, Sylvan Advocate, Hammerback Walker, Dromoka's Command, and then the Planeswalker package of Gideon Nissa and Nissa Vastwood Seer.
Right.
But then you're kind of doing what these white-black and these Naya Angels or Legend shells have been doing, and you've got your own Thalia's Lancers package here, along with, of course, combining to make Bracella between the two Angels, Avacyn, and then Sigarda here as well.
Yeah, Sigarda, it was one of the latest additions to the deck. It was brought up as a way to give yourself hexproof. And the only reason that's important in this format is because Emrakul. Like, this deck doesn't have many ways to deal with Emrakul main deck. You can only Tragic Arrogance it away. And if they take your turn and cast Tragic Arrogance, it's really bad.
Yes.
Like, to decide which ones you get rid of and keep, it's like them casting it on their turn for free. But Sigarda stops them from taking your turn, so as well as being a good creature against the blue-red decks. I think Todd Anderson won the Classic one last week. Just stops you from getting burnt out. But
right, and we haven't seen Green-White Tokens a lot since the Pro Tour, where all of these Emrakul decks have been running around. I imagine the Emrakul decks, the Emerge, and like the Delirium decks are things you have to consider when building Green-White Tokens now. Yeah,
Gisela gives you kind of like a more beatdown plan, just like a flying creature in the air they have to answer really quickly, along with the Planeswalker to be able to pressure pretty well. You kind of morph into a more aggressive deck just by Lancers able to get like, when you Lancers, the 4/4 body is almost as relevant as Avacyn against decks that don't kill it. So being able to get Lancers in play and then tutor for an Avacyn that then threatens it, because usually the threat of Avacyn is more important than Avacyn herself, like her body. But yeah, definitely fighting those decks. Like the Cause Likes Return decks out of the Teamer Emerge decks are always something you have to be able to fight, and usually with the emblem from Gideon's and your high toughness creatures like Advocate, you can kind of stay above them and beat them down that way.
Right.
And obviously, if you ever assemble the combo and flip Gisela and Brennan to Gisela, it locks out a lot of their what they do. So
right, most decks have trouble casting spells through that card, especially
they can't traverse for like an Emrakul at any point or something like that.
Yeah, and of course we saw the rise of Green-White Tokens back again after Bant Company took over because it's so good there. What are the other matchups you're kind of looking out for with this deck? Ones that you're highly favored against, and kind of ones that you're looking to dodge here.
You're very good against like human variants against Collected Company. I actually had a very good win rate against Collected Company specifically. Is once I put the Tragic Arrogance back in the main deck. I don't really like the card, but I feel like it's necessary for the format. But humans, any Bant Company decks, Black-White Control, those are all decks I'm very comfortable playing against. The Black-Green Delirium deck doesn't pressure you too much, and their endgame is an Eldar Deep Fiend, which is the only card I'm really afraid of. Emrakul can happen, but it's usually way too slow. But it takes like a Deep Fiend into an Emrakul to really put you back, where you can't play some of your big things to get back on the field.
Right. So we're looking to avoid the Elder Deep Fiend style decks.
Yeah. But you get some help in the sideboard for that.
Right. Speaking of which, we'll move to the sideboard. You kind of have more of these Legends package to get. You got another Nissa, you got a Draglord Dromoka, Linvala, and an extra Sigarda here, where I imagine Emrakul is really the thing you're trying to beat with this card.
Yeah. That's one of the big things. Also, surprisingly enough, against the cat pack decks, I guess, the demonic packs, they try to give you something, they can't give you the card if you have hexproof, which is really neat. And another interaction that comes up, if they've chosen the two modes of draw 2 and drain for 4, and you play Sigarda and it goes to their upkeep, they can't choose to make you discard 2, so they have to choose to lose the game before they get a chance to respond.
All right, so it has a little utility all over the place.
It's kind of fun.
All right, we got a Pulse Marissa and, of course, the Evolution Leap here. Great card. We saw it in Green-White Tokens from back in the day. Just very good in grindy matchups.
It is, but the grindy matchups now have Emrakul, so it's kind of a little more of a liability. So that's why there's only one on the board for the ones that don't have Emrakul, like just Black-White Control, really.
Okay. Then you have a bunch of instant speed enchantment removal here from Stasis Snare and Quarantine Field.
Yeah, Stasis Snare helps fight the Deep Fiends. It's also good against a lot of creature decks that don't have Dromoka's commands. It's a very versatile removal spell. It suffers the problem of getting killed by Dromoka's command most of the time. So Quarantine Field takes care of the Planeswalkers like Liliana if it gets ahead too quickly. And
Dim Protector combo is great with Pulse Marasa, but also just in long games. And then Declaration in Stone.
For some of the aggressive decks in Coco, you need to kind of run them out of resources. And just being able to kill 2 creatures for 2 mana is great.
So when people look at this deck, what is the first thing you think someone might look over or miss, or what are some of kind of the advanced things going on in this deck?
Just usually how aggressive you want to make like your Gideon attacks. I think people play this deck more as a control deck or a mid-range deck where you can be very aggressive is just like making your Gideons the first thing they have to answer, not just a guy that makes 2/2s every once in a while. But hitting for 5 is a lot of damage, and while I didn't like the Nissa Planeswalker that much, I cut it entirely at first, but then put it back to 3 after I realized I just need something to do to buy time to make sure the Gideon is protected as well. That's the main thing it does.
Sure.
But even though it doesn't look very good and doesn't do a whole lot, it just stalls the game out and protects your other Planeswalker Gideon. So.
Right, yeah, it looks like you can catch a lot of people off guard with the early start of looking like green-white tokens, but then all of a sudden you're turning the corner with this Angel package and all these big creatures. All right, well, Standard is on the horizon. You got to deal with Modern first.
Yep.
But this deck looks very good. Your team's been testing it a lot, and we can't wait to see it in action. So thanks for joining me here in the sideboard. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in New Jersey.